So welcome everybody to our first Healthy Family Series of 2022. We are excited to be back to be offering this first part in our series of a 4-part series that will be going throughout the spring. So we are back with our wellness partners. We've got the Health Education Council that's joining us in this these wellness presentations. We have the Dairy Council of California here. We also have our own chef, Angela Mack from the Tomorrow's Kitchen that will be joining us intermittently over the spring with Zoom cooking demonstrations, live cooking demonstrations, and lots of hands-on information for us as well. We have not only prepared during this series of live Zoom educational classes, but we've also worked to find ways to engage together in pop-up events on weekends where we can gather together to learn something new with some hands-on interactive activities. So we've got some great things planned and we're going to be reviewing that as we go along. Let me introduce myself first if we haven't, if you don't know who I am. My name is Lisa Borson. I'm a dietitian with Twin Rivers Nutrition Services. So part of what I do is work with nutrition education, health promotion, and really work to educate our community and our schools and our students all about the importance of making healthy choices and with that end goal to be a lifelong healthy eater. So that's my personal motto and my passion and why I'm so happy to be here today sharing anything and everything that we can as we're on this journey together towards wellness and raising our healthy families and helping all of our students succeed. I also want to just point out real quick, a big thank you to Heriberto and his amazing platform and community that's welcomed us all in here, to his Zoom and to the all of the technology and the things I'm learning that go into planning for something like this, as well as our interpreters to be here today so that we can all gather and learn and grow. So thank you very much for being here, and we're really excited to be working together. So today we're going to start with learning a little bit about oh, can we go one more slide up? I think there was one more up and yeah. So I was looking for the one that had what we're working on. Yeah, there we go. So today we have a really good schedule. We're going to start with exploring top nutrition trends and also explore root vegetables with hands-on cooking demonstration from our own chef T. And we're excited that we're starting with this because we're also matching this with what's going on in the classroom. And this month, your students have been studying carrots and tasting a variety of carrots. Just last week, we had sent organic rainbow carrots into the classroom and the students got to do taste tests and taste rainbow carrot chips. So we're very much committed at Nutrition Services to engaging your students in making healthy choices and introducing these good nutritious foods like root vegetables to students at school. And we want to encourage you to do that at home. And trust me, after you see what Chef T has cooked up for us, you're going to be roasting vegetables at home for dinner tonight as well, because they are delicious. We've got Chef T set up at our at Grant High School, amazing Grant High School, and she is actually working out of the Geo-Environmental Science Program cooking classroom. So not only does Grant High School have this, a lot of people don't even know about it, this amazing GeoGarden environmental science program for students. They also have a garden, and they have programs, student-led programs where the students work to make their own salsa and market and sell these products. So one of the exciting things we have for you as part of this series is that we're actually going to have some opportunities to come onto campus and visit some of the little known, these amazing programs, but little well-known great programs that we have in Twin Rivers. So we will be visiting and have a chance to come on site at the end of March, and we'll be sharing more about that as we go along. We also have some other fun events planned in April and May, things like a garden tour at Orchard Elementary out in Rio Linda, and a free farmers market opportunity that we're going to be setting up at a school site in May as well. So we encourage you to come to all of our sessions, learn and grow with us as we're moving through topics that we had heard from you and from our Twin Rivers community are relevant to the questions that people are asking now. And we're excited to get going with you. So with that, we want to be mindful of time. So I'm going to, can we go back? Sorry, go back one more slide. So I'm going to introduce our speakers here today. I already let you know that we have a visitor from Dairy Council. So we have Sonia Fernandez-Arana, and she's going to be starting with us today to talk about food trends. Welcome, Sonia. And then after that, we have Joanna Ramirez, and she is from Health Education Council, and she will be talking to us about root vegetables. And then we have Chef T, who we love, and we call our Harvest of the Month chef. So that's our lineup for today. But I wanted to share with you as well that by staying through to the end of the presentation, that we will be having a poll at the end. And at the end of that, everyone that participates in the poll will be put into a drawing to win a prize. And in addition to that, and to continue to keep education center front and center with everything that you're doing with students, we will be offering storybooks as well, and we'll be sending those out to people that participate in our programs in future weeks. So as we receive our books, we are keeping a list of your registration, and we will be sending out free incentive items for you to continue to come to these sessions and to encourage you to continue to read to your students and make health and wellness front and center. So without any more ado, I'd like to go ahead and hand this over to Sonia and let her get started with our presentation for today. Welcome, Sonia.
Oh, thank you so much. I think there's some a feedback. I'm not sure, Heriberto, if you can mute and everyone that might be muted. Okay. Yes, thank you so much, Lisa, for just the wonderful introduction and really setting the stage and just letting everyone know what what classes we have upcoming, fun family events, and really just making this just a wonderful year where we can continue to learn and grow together. But I wanted to formally introduce myself. My name is Sonia Fernandez-Arana. I'm with Dairy Council of California, representing the Let's Eat Healthy movement. Dairy Council is a quasi-state agency, nutrition education organization. We've been around for over 100 years, and we're really passionate about partnering with schools, community leaders, and members to activate our cause, which you see there on the slide. It's to elevate the health of kids and their families to the pursuit of those healthy lifelong eating habits. And as Lisa mentioned today, I'll be presenting the topic on just the top nutrition trends. Within our organization, we have a dedicated task force who really helps to monitor and review the latest trends in nutrition research, education, food marketing, agriculture, policy, etc. So through that trends process, that really allows us as an organization to kind of keep our nutrition education resources, programs, and services cutting edge, scientifically accurate, and relevant to our audience. So to really dive into the first trend is really focusing on Gen Zers. And Gen Z is now the largest and the most ethnically diverse demographic in the United States. This includes, individuals that were born roughly kind of mid-90s, from mid-90s to 2010. And Gen Z is unlike any other generation, simply because a lot of them are growing up around these topics or issues of interest that are very unique to them. So such as, climate change, that kind of climate crisis, technology, And they're also much more connected than any other generation before them. They are really well positioned, not only to be mobilizers, but really to be influencers. They have a lot of influence when it comes to those purchasing decisions and really influencing what a lot of companies or organizations are doing when it comes to marketing and positioning food products. Gen Zers also want to know where their food comes from and what impacts their personal choices have. And as a result, this really starts to kind of transition and really shape policy or even programmings and initiatives that are starting to be kind of elevated and amplified, and really act on issues of climate change, social justice, and diversity. So sort of a few things in respects to sort of, the Gen Zers. They're, as I said, they're really well connected. They like to bring everyone into sort of their space through that kind of digital connectivity. Video content on social media platforms like TikTok have really dominated the communication channels, and in marketing. And online games are starting to be used as a way to sort of reach and educate youth in schools and even just children around the world. So marketing strategies, some marketing strategies that have really targeted Gen Zers are incorporating a very specific terminology that really speaks to their values and appeals to their lifestyle, such as words like claim, restore, and energize. And using games for education has really become a way to really connect to these Gen Zers and attract them as well. And recently, there was our dairy partners, Fuel Up to Play 60, collaborated with National Dairy Council to really put together this wonderful sort of online video game that touched on dairy nutrition, farming, dairy sustainability, and really allowed for those partnerships to kind of form and shape and start to encourage more conversation and more excitement around the discussion of nutrition. So really challenging friends and family in a fun, friendly way to get involved and start to eat healthy and include their daily dairy serving. So basically the bottom line with this trend, what this means is, as we know, Gen Zers are starting to enter into the early sort of, ages of adulthood, and many of them will soon, start to develop families of their own. Their knowledge and their values will really start to influence a whole new generation. And it's really important for us to be able to engage with this group, find an opportunity to interact with them and invite them to have a seat at the table. There are lots of organizations and companies and even schools that are really creating a space to amplify the youth voice. And we have seen this happen. It's just much more amplified. And, really through that lens of the opportunity to do, peer-to-peer learning and peer-to-peer sharing and influence. So that is kind of just a quick recap of trend number one. Trend number two focuses around plant-based food marketing, is really gaining a lot of traction as a solution to the climate crisis. So we know climate change has really been seen as one of the major threats of our time. So advocates for plant-based eating are really seizing the opportunity to position their movement as a solution. So you may have seen as a consumer, right, going to the grocery store, many more plant-based products as you're walking through the aisles, or maybe you've seen some advertisement for those products, whether it's on social media or maybe, through the TV as well. And the value of plant-based foods and products is really rapidly increasing, not only driving this perceived sort of health benefit, but also the perceived climate impact. And sustainability is becoming a strategic focus of many of the plant-based alternative food companies, which is especially targeting youth, and knowing that they have this, growing voice, they're really wanting to kind of amplify. And a few strategies that food companies are doing to reach kids is including, for example, online guides to help teens talk to their families or their parents about, meat's impact on the climate change. And also, USDA gaining approval to serve their products in the school cafeteria. So that's just kind of one way how, companies are really wanting to get much more involved and really reach the youth through that perspective. The plant-based movement is also expanding into schools through other avenues, not so much in the cafeteria, but through the avenues of nutrition education and ag literacy. And the Farm to School program in California has gained a huge overwhelming support and funding, which is incredible. We definitely want to bring, more awareness and connectivity to support, local farming and really help build that sustainability within farming. And these programs are, expanding on the focus of, what they're addressing. So not just about healthy food, but really food literacy education and really expanding those school gardens in schools. And over the past few years, there's been more organizations with a plant-based focus that have developed educational programs. And one example is the Farm Fresh Food Prints, which is kind of a curriculum to teach kids about, their food choices and their connection to the environment, animal welfare, and food justice. Bottom line, what this really sort of means as we sort of start to analyze this trend is that, wanting to move forward towards a healthy diet and talk about that and sustainable food systems really requires a holistic approach. It's, inclusive of both plant and animal source foods. And teaching nutrition through food literacy and farm to school programs really help bridge that gap between agricultural and foods and what students eat, either at school or at home, really helping to result to a greater awareness of the role that agricultural plays in a healthy diet. And California, we know, is so diverse, and there's so many wonderful commodities and products that are grown, not just fruits and vegetables, but dairy, poultry, nuts, etc. So I would like to invite Lisa Vorse really quick to chime in and briefly talk a little bit about the Farm to School program that's happening at Twin Rivers and bring a little bit more visibility and awareness for what her team is doing. Lisa, would you like to come on?
Yes. So nutrition services with Twin Rivers Unified School District, we have always been making efforts to provide local, that kind of the farm to school concept. So, but looking even at a broader aspect of it, such as we purchase all of our bread comes from a local bakery, so that it is fresh and local. So it's made here and produced here and delivered here. We also get our milk. So think of all the milk and all the dairy, the yogurt and cheese that we use. And all of that is produced right here locally as well, too, within the area. So when you look at what we're doing right there, that's our, front and center. And that's something that's been with us for a long time. We're also a big contract with a local produce company called Pro Pacific. And they not only provide local fresh produce to us whenever they can from the area, within, I think we try to go for a less than 100-mile radius. They buy from all of the farms that they can that are selling locally, and they're delivering to each of our 60 sites that we provide meals for. So we also have programs like Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program that's in 20 elementary sites, where 3 to 4 times a week, we're actually putting a fresh fruit or vegetable into the classroom. And all of that produce is, a Modi apple from this farm and a tangerine or mandarin from another local farm. So our students are being exposed to farm fresh produce and the taste of it and the amazingness of it. So we do love Farm to School, but that's just getting started. We also have Harvest of the Month program, which is funded through Health Education Council in their work with the Sacramento County Health Department through grant funding. And they allow us to do nutrition education about My Plate and the USDA's nutrition curriculum, along with the taste testing in the classroom, where the students are getting the chance to learn and work together to taste something and something locally grown. So that's kind of that farm to school movement as well. And I could go on and on. We're incorporating farm to school education into the first, second, and third grade education programs, and we're going to start piloting this spring that we can take out with our team nutrition programs. And we have so many other ideas. We have free farmers markets, which we're all going to be inviting you all to attend one in May at a high school up in North Highlands or within our district, the location to be announced at one of our Saturday pop-ups. But we're doing those throughout the district. As a matter of fact, this year alone, we have high schools that are signing up to have farmers markets during the school day for the high school students, because it's so valuable for them to come out and get a bag and pick their own fruits and vegetables and take them home and have them and talk to their friends about them and eat them, not only the nutrition that they get from it as well. So we're just getting started though. This spring series that we want to do with you, by you coming out to our pop-up events and joining us in these gardens and at these events, we're going to be letting our community, our Twin Rivers community, know that we want more farm to school. And we really are hoping that you're going to come out, save the dates for those Saturday events, and come out and join us and experience some of this local and farm to school and all of that good stuff. Hopefully I didn't talk too long.
No,
okay.
Not at all. No, it was great. Thank you so much for shedding a little bit of light as to, what the district is doing, the different, age groups that are impacted by this programming. And it's great to hear that expansion of, the farmers market really reaching a whole other audience that oftentimes those types of programming aren't always, they don't always come to fruition for that particular age group. So it's great to know that this is really a K to 12, or I want to say maybe, pre-K to 12 effort into what's happening at the district. And yeah, it's excited to see, how farm to school evolves and grows within Twin Rivers in the coming years. So thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing a little bit about that. Then the next trend is actually talking about the sort of focusing more on the front of packaging nutrition labels as kind of what you see on this slide. It's really gaining a lot of momentum, not just within the United States, but really globally. A lot of countries are starting to adopt different type of labeling systems. And over the years, the front labeling has really evolved from just sort of highlighting very specific nutrient pieces of information, like what we would see typically like in the milk carton or maybe our cereal or any other kind of food packaging, to sort of now a little bit more newer type of labeling and use of color coding and symbols to really rank the healthfulness of foods. And globally, there's more support growing around a label system to help inform, right? What are those healthier choices? And, also talk about sort of the enforcement behind that as well. So there is a few sort of new labeling that you may not have really seen too much, but one in particular is this healthy choice, this little sort of check, which is this one in the circle here. This logo in particular is kind of one example of initiative that is sort of shifting, with the food industry and having more conversations with government around how can we establish this healthy choice sort of logo that really helps to rank food based on the healthfulness, and also really try to kind of think about, marketing to children as well, make that a little bit more easier for parents. We know it is very challenging when there's a lot of labeling and information on a packaging. It's hard to really decipher for what is something that is nutritionally dense, nutritionally rich, and healthy for not for myself, but also for my family as well. Sustainability is also gaining a lot of momentum and ground in the labeling space. There are several sort of eco labels that are being tested and used in different countries, like the labeling on the very far right, which provides kind of these environmental scores for food based on different criteria. For example, like water usage, water pollution, biodiversity, and carbon footprint. And for now, the United States is falling a little bit behind in this sort of front labeling package, but not for too long. The US is currently working on kind of updating and really defining that sort of healthy claim, providing a little bit more, control and guidance over that, which we know, can be, used or possibly, interpreted in a different way, in different contexts. So we hope to receive a little bit more information, in the coming months or in the year as to what changes might be occurring within the United States. So trend number 4 is the shift to nutrition security. So nutrition security really focuses on not just the access and the availability of foods, but also it really emphasizes the nutritious foods and support for health and prevent disease. It really centers on the quality of the diet rather than just getting enough calories. So we know with the pandemic that really heightened the awareness of these long-term issues of hunger and food insecurity, as many people have faced and are continuing to face. And while at the same time, we know that those health conditions or outcomes have worsened for some individuals, and starting to see a little bit of a significant increase in childhood obesity and rates of depression and anxiety. And this really has led to a lot of, funding and intervention to address these issues. So some examples that you may have heard of or that are new to you, if you're not aware, California is really the first state in the nation to implement a universal, free meal program moving forward. So this is something that's going to be permanent in California. School meals now have, really provide an equitable access to support nutrition security for all kids, to ensure that they're getting, nutrient-rich foods from all 5 food groups. The USDA also updated the Thrifty Food Plan, which is used to kind of calculate the SNAP-Ed benefits, and really that increase in benefits made it a little bit much more affordable for families or an individual to make those healthy food choices, knowing the what the cost of food is. Food banks are also receiving a surge of funding and support from donors, and are now starting to place more emphasis on purchasing food over relying on those donated foods to ensure that there's a high quality of availability of the foods that they are using within their food distribution programs. And basically, bottom line, we really want to advocate for for childhood nutrition, and ensure that we're advocating or promoting and supporting these food access and nutrition funded programs that could really provide the nutritional foods that these children need during these growing years, that we know have a significant impact on their lifelong health. So I won't take up too much time, but I do want to encourage the sentiment, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. This definitely guides, our values and our commitment to collaboration at Dairy Council. And we launched the Let's Eat Healthy movement to do the exact same thing. Really, unifying our commitment and support for, healthy eating and active living within our community. So I encourage you to sign up to join the movement. You could scan the QR code or, register through the link. So you can ignore where it says company. You can leave that portion blank. But I hope, you found the trends presentations to be interesting. I wish we had a little bit more time to connect, but I will stick around to answer any questions. But I do want to invite Joanna Ramirez from Health Education Council to present a lesson on Farm Fresh from the Garden. So I will stop sharing my screen so Joanna can.
Thank you, Sonia and Lisa, for starting us off, and all that great information on those trends and the farm to school movement as well. And like I think Lisa introduced us, my name is Joanna Ramirez, and I'm a program coordinator with the Health Education Council. And a little bit about the Health Education Council. So we are a nonprofit organization that is committed to promoting health and well-being in underserved communities through the power of collaboration. And within HEC, we have a lot of programs, but specifically this program is the Healthy Schools program, where we are bringing you this information. And our Healthy Schools program works to promote a culture of health and wellness in Sacramento County schools and school districts. And we are funded by the USDA SNAP, which is an equal opportunity provider and employer. And to start off, okay, next screen, or here we go. Okay. So this is the agenda for today. For our portion of this presentation, So for this first session, we're going to do a lesson on fresh from the garden, which, like Lisa mentioned, will be focused on root vegetables. And then we're going to go into a food demo with Chef T, and then we're going to leave some time at the end for some Q&A time with you all. And then we're going to have a short poll questions that we want to ask you guys, and this will also help you guys enter into the raffle for this series. Okay, so to start off, we're going to be doing the Fresh from the Garden curriculum. And for this lesson, like I mentioned, we're going to be focusing on root vegetables. And root vegetables are the edible part of the plant that grows underground. And they are considered a cool weather vegetable group. And most can be grown during the warmer months, but they thrive more when the temperatures drop, which is why we consider them a cool weather vegetable. And, you know, they do a lot better in the winter and colder months. And the most familiar root vegetables are beets, carrots, onions, and potatoes. And of these, the potatoes and the carrots are the most popular. But today we will be covering the lesser known roots, which are the turnips, parsnips, beets, and rutabagas. Okay, so some quick nutrition facts on root vegetables. So all root vegetables are low in calories and they're good sources of fiber. And these vegetables, they contain phytochemicals that may protect us against cancer. So it is recommended for you to eat a variety of vegetables in your diet, and, you know, try to incorporate them, you know, every day, as many as you can, especially into each meal. And we know that they also contain, you know, they're very good for you, and they have a lot of vitamins A and C, as well as other important minerals like calcium, iron, folate, and potassium. And specifically for beets, you want to eat the leafy tops. So as you can see from this image, you know, we have the whole root vegetable, and then we have the leafy greens. And you can actually eat those as well. So you can eat the entire vegetable. And the leafy tops, which are called beet greens, they contain a lot of other added like vitamins and minerals, which is calcium, iron, and even more vitamins. And the same goes for rutabagas and for turnips. You can also eat those leafy green tops of the turnips, and they have a lot of added vitamins A and C. But for the rutabaga greens, those are not generally eaten. They tend to have a more bitter taste. So it is more recommended to eat the greens from the beets and the turnips. Okay, so right here we have some images of a couple different root vegetables, and these are the four main ones that we'll be talking about today. And if you guys want to answer in the chat real quick, if you are familiar with any of these root vegetables, or if you tend to cook with them, or if you've seen these before at the store, or your local farmers market, if you guys want to answer in the chat. So in the meantime, I'll actually go more in depth on what each of these are. So to start off is beets, and these are actually, they're more commonly known because of their bright colors. And they're actually more used than the other three, and they tend to have an earthy taste, but they're also pretty sweet. And they're an excellent source of folate and vitamins A and C. And while beets, they do tend to have a high sugar content, they are still very low in calories. But if you are being mindful of how much sugar you are eating, you just want to be mindful of how many beets you eat as well. But it is always more recommended to eat fruits and vegetables, even though they have, they can have high sugar content, but it's natural sugar, so it's better than eating, processed sugar. So the next one is parsnips, and these actually look like white carrots, but they are much sweeter. So, if you or your kids really like carrots, this is a really great alternative, or a really easy vegetable to start incorporating into your meals, because they are sweet, and they're also high in potassium, and they are a good source of folate, and they contain a lot of vitamins like vitamins A and C and calcium and iron. And then next we have the turnips. So these kind of resemble radishes, but they're a lot bigger. And they do have that kind of color as radishes because they have like that purple tint. And they actually tend to have more of a cabbage-like flavor. And they also, they're good sources of vitamin A and C. And then next we have rutabagas. So these two actually look pretty similar to each other. The differences are, rutabagas are actually even bigger than turnips. And the purple is, a lot deeper, and they are also yellow on the bottom, and the inside as well with the flesh. Turnips are white on the inside, while rutabagas are yellow. As you can see from these the pictures, these are more yellow. And they're also good sources of vitamin A and C. And in addition to being root vegetables, turnips and rutabagas are also members of the cabbage or the cruciferous vegetable family. Okay, so now we're going to be talking a little bit more about how you can harvest and store and eat these root vegetables. So starting off with harvest, an advantage to having roots in your garden is that they can be left in the ground and harvested as needed. And you want to harvest the roots when they are young and tender, so about 2 to 4 inches in diameter. So like about the size of a golf ball, but you don't want them to get bigger than the size of a tennis ball. And this applies to beets and turnips. And I know probably many of you are asking yourself, how would I know the size if they grow underground and, you can't see them while they're growing. So the general rule is the bigger, the darker, so you want to look at the leaves. So the darker the leaves and the thicker the stem, that's how you know that the root vegetable is, mature and it's ready to harvest. And for beets, they actually grow partly above the soil. So you can see from this image, the beet is actually, a little bit, you can see the top of it. And that is only when they're already mature. So if you can see them sticking out of the soil already, they're pretty much ready to harvest. And then like I said, you can also look at the leaves and the thickness of the stem. And another way is to check the seed packets when you are planting them. So you want to make sure you keep those as a reminder to know like when they're expected to be fully ripe. But you can also harvest them sooner or leave them in the soil a little bit later because they don't tend to spoil like normal fruit does. But you don't want to leave them under in the soil for too long because they do tend to get a woody and bitter taste. So don't leave them in there too long, but don't take them out too soon either. But it's pretty easy to tell by the leaves and the stem. But once you get into if you have your own garden, you start planting it, you'll be an expert on harvesting your root vegetables. So next for storing, so after harvesting, you want to store your beets, your parsnips, your turnips, and your rutabagas in the refrigerator in the vegetable crisper or in a plastic bag. And you want to remember to remove the green tops before storing the roots. But like we mentioned, you can actually eat the tops, which are the leafy greens. But that only applies, remember, to the beet and the turnips. So you want to remember to, just cut those off, and you can also save them and, cook them as well. And then lastly is, eating them. Root vegetables are very versatile and they can be, made in many different ways. You can roast them, you can boil them, braise them, mashed or steamed. You can eat them hot or cold. Some can be eaten raw. And some actually don't taste that great raw, but others do. And you can also, pickle them or just eat them plain. And actually, Chef T will actually go more into depth on how different ways to prepare your root vegetables and to eat them. Right now, she'll be going into that in her food demo. Okay, and I think I should probably stop sharing my screen. Chef D can start doing her food demo, and she'll actually be doing some roasted root vegetables.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you, Johanna, for that presentation on root vegetables. Root vegetables are fall and winter vegetables, and I absolutely love this particular presentation. I like talking about root vegetables because besides potatoes and carrots and onions, most people don't eat a lot of root vegetables. But root vegetables have some of the most vibrant and prettiest colors that I've ever seen. They're fall and winter vegetables, and I like them because there are a lot of different varieties, from potatoes, the carrots, the parsnips, the rutabagas, turnips, and each of those varieties of root vegetables have a lot of varieties in and of themselves, like gold beets, red beets. Of course, potatoes, you have your gold potatoes, your red potatoes, your sweet potatoes, your purple potatoes. And so all of those are root vegetables, and root vegetables meet everybody's special diet. They're vegan friendly, paleo friendly, gluten friendly, keto friendly. So regardless of what diet someone's on, root vegetables fit into that diet. A lot of people, when they go on like diets, that first thing they want to do is restrict the starchier vegetables, like your potatoes and stuff. But the potatoes in and of themselves are actually healthy. It's all of the stuff that we put on them that make them unhealthy. All of the butter and the sour cream, all the extra cheese and tons of bacon. Okay, so when you get your root vegetables, don't be afraid to practice and try new things. You have your rutabagas, they look like turnips, as Johanna said, but they're actually a cross between turnips and cabbage. And that's how you'll figure them out when you taste them, because the taste is milder than a turnip when it's raw, but it's buttery and sweet. And, I guess you would call it sweet savory when they're cooked. And they have a slight bitterness. So you have to make sure that you season them well so that the seasoning will take away that bitterness. Turnips are like radishes, but they're not quite as spicy. And when you cook them, they turn sweet, nutty, and kind of earthy. Parsnips, they actually call those white carrots. And I actually bought one, I bought a half of one because they're huge. And I wanted to use half of it in my dish. But this is why they call it white carrots, because they look like carrots. But the smaller the parsnip, the easier it is and the more tender it is in the preparation. Once they get big like this, the middle, you know how your carrot has the round part in the middle? Parsnips have the same thing. And when they get this big, this middle part is actually kind of fibrous. So if you're going to cut them small and cook them, you can leave it in. But if you're going to eat them raw or something, you might want to take that part and throw it away. Okay, the good part about root vegetables is that you have the option to keep the peeling on them or to take it off. If you're going to peel them, just use a regular vegetable peeler and go ahead and peel them. But what I like to do, unless I'm cooking for other people, if I'm just cooking for myself, I leave the peelings on them, because as with most vegetables and fruits, most of the nutrition is in the peeling. And so you could take and just wash them off, get a vegetable brush or get a toothbrush or some kind of brush that you designate as a vegetable brush and use that. Or you can do like I do. And what I do, I use these green scrubbies. And all I do is I use it, if I'm using it for vegetables, I'm just using it for vegetables and I'm just using it for that one time, for that one preparation. I would usually do this at my house over the sink, but the sink is over there and I don't want to drip water all over the floor here. So I put a bowl of water here. You just take the scrub, you put it in there and wet it, and just scrub your vegetables. And see, not only is it getting the dirt off, but it actually takes the surface skin off too. So the hard skin and the skin that might have like a little bit of the dirt taste to it, all that comes off when you scrub it. Okay, the thing about when you're cooking root vegetables and you're going to cook them all together, you have to remember to cut your vegetables according to the way they cook. Carrots, parsnips, turnips, potatoes, those kind of things, they cook relatively quick, or at least they cook quicker than beets, rutabagas, and like ube, or ube is purple potatoes. And purple potatoes look like this, they're purple yams, and they look just like this. I like them because when you cut inside of them, see the purple? And when they cook up beautifully. So when you're doing your root vegetables, the thing is to look at them. See, I have carrot pieces, they're bigger. Turnip pieces are a little bit bigger, but my beet pieces are a little smaller because it takes the beets a little quicker, a little longer to cook than the other vegetables. And when you're doing something with root vegetables, you want the natural sweetness and the flavor of the actual vegetables to come out. So all you're going to do is cut your vegetables to cook them. You're going to just toss a little oil in them, some salt, some pepper. And those who have listened to me talk, you know how much I like my spices. So I have a jar of just complete seasoning mix, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. I'm going to wear gloves because beets are in here and beets bleed. And that's one thing you have to be aware of also, is if you eat a lot of beets, not only when you mess with them, they tend to turn some of your vegetables, they tend to tint them pink. They'll also tint your teeth pink if you eat too many of them. And when you go to the bathroom, regardless of what you're doing, there might be a pink tinge to it. And so, if that happens, don't be alarmed, just realize that you ate a lot of beets. Okay, and so when you do this, add a little Parmesan cheese or whatever flavorings you want. You're going to put them on a single layer in the sheet pan. And you're going to cook them, they cook for about 45 minutes to an hour. When they're done, this is the way they look. See all the different vegetables. Here's your beets. This is a sweet potato. Here's a purple potato. Turnips. And see, if you look at them, they're all soft. They're all tender at the same time. And that is what you want. And the thing is, I know you can't smell them from where you are, but here they smell wonderful. And so that's basically how you would go about roasting root vegetables. I know this was kind of quick, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to ask any questions that you may have. So I'll turn it on over back to Joanna so she could get the questions from you.
So Chef T, I really liked how you you gave different texture to the salad. So, some of it was grated parsnip and then sliced and diced. So it wouldn't be all rounds or all square cuts or whatnot. That was nice too. It gives it a lot of different colors and textures and shapes.
Makes it look a lot more appetizing.
Mm-hmm. It looks so good. I definitely want to do this recipe in the cafeterias and have the kids try it at some point. It's delicious.
The thing is, it's a very easy recipe to make. And when you roast your vegetables, they all take on a natural sweetness. And it makes them all taste really good together too.
You know, we've tried in the cafeterias to get the sweet potatoes to stick in the school meals program. And we do sweet potato fries and different things. But, you know, I'm talking from the parents' point of view too. It is really hard to get kids to keep taking some of the new fruits and vegetables and getting them to accept it. So it's just so fun to have new recipes like this where you can always be introducing, because I know sometimes it can take 7 or 8 times to try to have the kids try it before they really want to eat it for a
Right,
meal.
it takes 7 or 8 times to try, but you also have to try them different ways. For instance, sweet potatoes. They may not like sweet potato fries. They may not like sweet potato sticks. They might like sweet potatoes cooked like burgers.
Mhm.
You know, so there's all different ways to do it. You just have to keep trying. One of the ways will stick.
So does anyone want to go off mute now and ask Chef T some questions? She knows a lot of stuff about cooking root vegetables and other stuff too. Okay, I don't hear anyone. You can also put your questions in chat. I'll just do a quick scroll through here, but we can review real quick. Chef T, do you mind? We have just a minute or two. Can you review again what root vegetables went into the salad? And you know, maybe you can feel free to write those down if you're going to run to the store tonight or tomorrow to pick up some of these root vegetables and try roasting them.
Okay, so this particular dish isn't a salad per se. It's actually a mixed vegetable that you can use as a side dish. They go great with like roast meat, roast leg of lamb, turkey, roast chicken, you know, and this is just regular root vegetables. There's some sweet potatoes, there's some purple yams, there's turnips, there's beets, there's onions, and parsnips and carrots.
All right, wonderful. Well, I am super excited to try it. And roasting is so quick and easy when you're just popping it in the oven. What was the temperature again for that?
I popped them in the oven at 375. It took them about 45 to 50 minutes to actually get done. And then you can also take them and hold them in a warm oven because you have to use a mixture of different potatoes. Unless you're feeding a lot of people, your batch will be kind of large. But the next day you can take those same extra vegetables that are left over, make a nice broth, make a nice roasted vegetable soup.
Excellent.
Or you could take it and toss it with some kind of salad dressing and make it into a salad, put it on a bed of lettuce.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Chef T. Thank you for sharing this with us. I know in these cold winter months, it's important that we're getting all the nutrition that you do get from those root vegetables. We are going to hop right on over. We want to be mindful of our time, and we're going to hop on over to this poll quiz. We hope that everybody participates. If you do participate, your registration information is going to be recorded, and we will be taking a raffle of everybody who participated in these poll questions and drawing a name for a prize. And we will be contacting and announcing that at our next session about your prize. So let's get started. Go ahead to go ahead and do this poll. What you need to do is it's multiple choice. So click on the answer the best answer that you want to answer. And then when you're done, you hit in poll. Please unmute and ask questions too if you're not seeing how to make it work.
For the survey, it should have popped up on your end. It gives you 4 options, and they're just single answer based on your preference. it's in English, and then we have the Spanish translation in parentheses. This will allow us to kind of take attendance for today, and as far as Ms. Force has mentioned, as far as the raffle that we're going to be doing for those who have participated today, we want to let you know that our next session will be in about 2 months from now, and in Wednesday, March 23rd, will be our next session. And hopefully by then, many of the books that we have ordered for our families will have arrived